Have you ever gotten a bill from your doctor that has a big dollar amount on one of the line items and maybe a code that you can't understand, making it impossible to know what service is connected to that charge? Well, it could be something called a trauma charge, and they can range from $1,000 to tens of thousands of dollars. And some hospitals are reluctant to give explanations about these big ticket service charges. Joining me in studio now is State Senator Kevin Kelly from Stratford. Senator Kelly, thanks for joining us on Face the Facts and coming all the way up from Stratford. We appreciate it. First, for people who don't know what a trauma charge is, can you help us understand that?
A trauma charge is something that you experience if you ever taken to an ER with an EMS vehicle and you are treated in the emergency room. It's pretty as simple as that.
Right.
You may then experience this trauma bill that comes and you had no idea. It's not like it's posted on the wall as to what it's going to be. It's not a standardized amount, and so people often are surprised to find out how expensive it can be.
And so, to be clear, so there are several hospitals in Connecticut that have a certain level of trauma centers, and depending on what you go in for is how they can charge. If you go in for a heart attack, it might be one price. If you go in for something else, it might be the other. Is that how it works?
Correct. It's if they activate this trauma team, upon admission, you'll get the fee. And the question becomes, what is the fee?
Right.
What's the cost of the fee? And was it really appropriate? And that's really what we're trying to scratch at here, is to get to the bottom of the issue and to bring transparency and sunlight onto it.
And how do you do that? Are you going to try to enact legislation to make that happen? Have you had conversations with the hospitals? Have you gotten pushback?
Both.
Yes.
all of the above.
Yeah.
We did pass legislation this year to begin the process to start to require hospitals to publicize and to disclose exactly what they charge and for what. And hopefully with this information, we'll be able to get our arms around this issue and bring relief to consumers.
Now, because it's of an opaque nature, you see just trauma charge or you see a code you can't understand and maybe a $50,000 line item there because it could have been a serious trip to the hospital. There are some critics of that process, and I think this is part of the reason why you're getting this legislation going, that's saying some hospitals could actually be padding their balance sheets that way. Have you heard that? Is that a criticism you're aware of? Or?
Yes, that is a criticism that we've heard. Many families, we see this a lot. It's not only with ER, but it's with the whole entire hospital billing system. It's one of the reasons why in the past we have also done bipartisan work to go and get at surprise billing in hospitals, an initiative that, quite frankly, Washington has picked up and is trying to nationalize this issue. And it's really born out of bipartisan politics, where both parties have brought their ideas together, because this is an issue that's very, very important to all lawmakers. And so, yes, we are hearing this from our constituents, and we're trying to get our arms around it for a couple of reasons. One is to bring relief to the consumer, but also to get our arms around the high cost of medical care, because that's one of the primary drivers to why people's insurance continues to go up.
So if you bring your child in for a broken arm or something that's significant or more, and there's a big charge and you say, wow, that seems awfully expensive for a broken arm, and if a family thinks that there could be a bogus charge, is there any recourse? Can they figure out a way to combat it?
Well, right now they have to deal within the current construct, the current systems, and maybe go back to their insurance carrier or to the hospital. What we would like to do now is to bring clarity to this, start to see what the facilities are actually doing. If we do see problems, then we're going to start to take the next step with legislation to try to rectify it so that consumers are protected.
Say there's a case in point where a family is at odds with the hospital billing, it's whether a child or a family member comes in, and they believe that the charge is bogus, but trying to pay a big charge or choosing between that and big legal fees to fight the big charge, where do they go?
Well, many times they don't have anywhere to go,
right.
and that's the problem that we're seeking to address, is to try to bring relief for families and a place to go where they can bring their grievances and be heard, so that they don't just get these huge bills. That's where the surprise billing came in. Somebody may have had insurance to cover the hospital visit, but if it was treated as an outpatient bill, they got stuck with this huge bill that might be $4,000 or $5,000 where it could have been a deductible. We passed those laws to prohibit that conduct here in Connecticut, which is what I said the president is now trying to nationalize, or those efforts that we're doing here and the good work we're doing in Connecticut. So we're looking at these areas. We've already done some of the heavy lifting. We're now taking what was done generally to hospitals, to the ER, to see if we can fix that one too.
So we're in the insurance capital of the world, and then we have many trauma centers here in Connecticut. Are you getting pushback from either side as you try to take the next step, and what is the next step?
Well, yes. I mean, there's always, I'm not going to say pushback, but there's always, I'm going to say, healthy discussion.
Okay.
And yes, we are looking at different ways. This is one. Another is importation of prescription drugs from Canada. The Republicans also have put forward reinsurance, looking at bringing federal dollars and leveraging those, because we know with a report done by the Exchange here in Connecticut that we can reduce premium for Connecticut families up to 20% if we enact this type of reinsurance program. So we've put that forward this session. It didn't pass, but we're going to revisit that. And sure, we have great ideas to bring relief to Connecticut families, and we'd like to pursue them.
State Senator Kevin Kelly from Stratford, thank you for joining us on Face the Facts today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Giving us some clarity on that. Okay, coming up next, West Hartford Mayor says it is time for comprehensive gun reform. She joins us in studio when we come back.